What's up, you sick mother bluffers? Welcome back to some more Portland home game action. In this one, I pick up ace queen offsuit in the small blind, under the gun opens to 7, hijack 3 bets to 30, I 4 bet to 100, big blind and original razor fold, hijack makes the call. There's over 200 in this pot already as we go heads up to a flop of deuce, queen, 8, 2 diamonds, I flop top. Now, you're probably going to yell at your screen, but I decide to check here. Why? Well, I think the hijack player is pretty solid and can sometimes flat with aces or kings. I'm pretty sure they're not calling a 4-bet with a hand like king queen, and I'm not sure how many streets of value I can get from a hand like jacks, 10s, or ace king with no diamonds. Given the pre-flop action, I don't think I'm getting much value from anything besides ace king of diamonds specifically. For that reason, I decide that I'm going to try and get to showdown as cheaply as possible. Hopefully, the board doesn't get too weird. The hijack decides to bet 90, and I'm obviously not going anywhere just yet. I call. The turn is not ideal, it's the 3 of diamonds, completing the flush. Continuing with the plan, I check. I'm expecting my opponent to blast off, but they check back. The river comes to king of diamonds, which is just a horrible card. I check for a 3rd time. Surely my opponent is going to put the pressure on now. But no, they check back, and they show ace queen of hearts. Kind of an anticlimactic end to the hand, but honestly, I'm happy to chop it up and move on to the next one. Running a little card dead early in this session, about an hour later I get dealt ace queen in the small blind again. Action folds to the cutoff, who makes it 16 to go. I 3 bet to 50, and they make the call. Heads up to the flop, which comes deuce ace 10 with 2 diamonds. I flop top pair. Holding the ace of diamonds and a queen, there's not many turn cards I'm afraid of. I lead out for 30. My opponent tanks for about 20 seconds before raising to 107. Now, this particular player I know is capable of taking some weird lines. I have about 300 behind, and I decide to go with a straightforward 3-bet all in. I fade the snap call, so at this point I'm pretty confident I have the best hand. My opponent thinks for about 40 seconds and folds. A couple of orbits later, I get dealt ace queen again in the cutoff this time. Under the gun straddles to 10. Action folds to me. I'm going to bump it up to 30. The button, small blind, and under the gun straddler make the call. We go 4 ways to a flop of 3 queen 9 rainbow. I flop top pair. Action checks to me. I c bet for 40. The button and small blind fold, but under the gun sticks around to see the turn, which comes to queen of hearts, improving me to trips. Under the gun checks to me, and you're probably going to pull your hair out, but I do something I don't do very often. I check back, hoping to induce either a bluff or a value bet from a worse queen from my opponent on the river. Heads up to the river, which is a little weird. It's the 3 of diamonds, double pairing the board, giving me a full house. If my opponent had a queen, we're not chopping, which sucks, especially when my plan comes together and they lead for 55. Since I have the nuts, I'm going to raise all in, and my opponent does not snap call, so that's great. I know I have the winning hand. They tank for about 40 seconds and fold. I go card dead for about another hour before this hand, where I'm on the button with the straddle to 5. The big blind is going to raise to 20. Action folds to me. I look down at pocket 6s, and I make the call. We go heads up to a flop of 3, 4, 5, 2 hearts. Big blind checks to me. I'm pretty confident I have the best hand, but I need some protection against overcards. I decide to lead out for 40, and my opponent makes the call. The turn is the 3 of clubs, and the big blind checks for a 2nd time. I continue betting for 80 this time, and the big blind folds. The very next hand, there's a limp from middle position. The low jack raises to 10, the hijack 3 bets to 20, and I look down at pocket deuces from the cutoff. Everyone is playing pretty deep stack, so I make the call, hoping to set mine. The limper and original razor both make the call. We go 4 ways to a flop of 3 deuce, king, rainbow, flop a set, let's go. Surprisingly, action checks all the way around to me, and I think this is a good spot to slow play. I check back. The turn comes to 5 of spades, and on this card, the middle position player open folds before the low jack goes all in for 115. Hijack folds, I make the call, so we're going heads up to the river, which comes to 4 of clubs, and my opponent shows ace, I'm so sorry. Ace 7 offsuit for a rivered straight. I have no words. Let's move on to the next one. Despite taking this pretty sick bad beat, I'm staying focused. My head is still in the game, and I know it's only a matter of time before someone attempts to donate some chips to me again. In this hand, there's a raise from middle position to 10. I look down at King Jack offsuit from the small blind. The cutoff calls the 10, I make the call, and the big blind comes along. We go 4 ways to a flop of Queen, 10, 9, Rainbow. Boom! I flop the nuts. Being first to act, I check and flow, and sadly, action checks around. The turn comes to 5 of clubs, and I'm done checking. Time to put some money into this pot. I bet 20. The big blind raises to 70. The middle position player calls. I cannot believe it, but the cutoff, 3-bet jams for 242. I act like I got a somewhat tough decision to make. Before I rejam for around 600 bucks, the big blind snap calls for 220 total. Middle position is going to get out of the way. So here I am, sitting on the nuts in the 3-way all-in. There's a little over 800 in the pot, and so we go 3 ways to the river, which comes to 10 of spades, pairing the board. The big blind quickly shows pocket sorry about that. Pocket 5s for a rivered full house. That's the main pot gone. I guess the crumbs in the side pot are coming my way. The cutoff shows 10. Two very rough beats back to back, and instead of being up almost $1,000, I'm down 150. That's poker, I know that, but I can't help but feel a little bit deflated. I've been very patient tonight, picking my spots, and unfortunately, I have nothing to show for it. With the session coming to a close for me, I get involved in one last hand. I'm in the big blind. 3 players limped, so 4 of us see a flop of Deuce, 10, Queen, 2 clubs. Undergun 1 leads for 7, and I double check my cards. I've got Queen Deuce. I flop 2 pair. Action folds to me, and I'm going to raise to 25. Undergun 1 makes the call. Heads up to the turn, which comes to 6 of diamonds, and I continue betting for 45. Undergun 1 doesn't call. They don't fold either. They repop it back to 140, and they have me covered. And now, for your viewing and listening pleasure, I will reenact my thoughts at the table.
Okay, so there's a bunch of draws on this board. The clubs, King Jack, Jack 9. He's got Queen 10, bro. I also beat 10 Deuce, 10 6. Dude, you're on tilt. He's not lipping 10 Deuce or 10 6, man. I mean, I only used to Queen 10 and Queen 6. Am I really going to fold? Bro, you know he's got Queen 10. Come on, man, fold. Calling seems a little weird, though. I guess I'll just go with jam. No, don't do it. Stop!
Come on.
Yeah, beautiful nipple.
All in and call.
Of course, they have Queen 10, and I get stacked. I know you're not supposed to put your opponent on one specific hand, and hindsight is 20/20, but I just knew I was beat. But unfortunately, I couldn't find the fold button. Although I wasn't full on tilting, I definitely think the 2 previous hands influenced my decision on the turn here. I was really mad at myself for not finding the fold. I knew deep down was correct, and punting the rest of my stack. But I guess that's just how poker goes sometimes. This concludes this episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the pain, please hit that like button, and please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell to see my next video. In the meantime, good luck at the tables, and I'll catch you in the next one.